Hey guys, welcome to tonight's live. I'm Dr. Tammy and I'm so excited you're here. And we call this show the Ask Dr. Tammy show. So please, please, please ask Dr. Tammy. Elaine, good evening, good evening, good evening, Elaine. I'm so glad you're here. So we talk all things perimenopause, menopause, hormones, estrogen problems, you name it, we talk about it. And tonight we are doing, well, this whole month, because it's Christmas and I love Christmas, my favorite holiday. We are talking about the 25 main symptoms of menopause. A lot of people think it's just hot flashes. And if you get through a year without periods, oh, sorry. My setup tonight's been a little crazy. Hope I didn't scare you there with dropping my phone. I have all these things going. So, okay, hopefully we'll just say a little prayer. So, sorry, I'm messing with you a little bit there. Okay, here I am back. So, all things menopause. So, 25 main symptoms of menopause. So, we're doing like that advent, the countdown. And I can't believe Christmas is so close. It's nuts. So, a lot of people think it's just hot flashes, but it is so much more than that. It is so much more than that. The number one symptom of what we call menopause, right, is fatigue. And then comes not sleeping, kind of related, and then weight gain. And there's so many aspects of what menopause is. So I always have to kind of start with my rant just a little bit. But tonight we are going to talk about night sweats. So I want you guys to tell me what your experience has been with either hot flashes or night sweats. We talked about hot flashes last night. And tonight is the next phase of that, which is night sweats. And I had to bow out a little early because our Hormone Bliss program, I do a monthly Bliss Bites with Dr. Tammy. So I had to hop out of there to be available for my folks in the group. So if you're interested in that group, you can go to the link in bio, or you can go to hormonebliss.com and check us out and be part of our collective, all the women who are taking their power back. So super excited about that. So yeah, if you like our content, oh, yes. If you like our content, if you would just tap the screen a whole bunch of times and it sends up little hearts, yes, go ahead and practice. Tap, 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 tap. It's really fun. So yeah, if you would do that, or whenever you like something that I'm talking about, if you would tap the screen and send me some love, that'd be awesome, because then I know what you're interested in and it kind of helps me guide my conversation. So mostly I just want you guys to ask questions, but I do have content prepared. So if you guys are quiet, then I'm just going to talk. So anyway, so we have so much that we need to talk about when it comes to menopause, because I always have to kind of get on my rant just a little bit that menopause is not the problem. Menopause is just by definition 1 year without having periods, and that's it. So that's not a problem, right? Nobody's going to fuss at not having periods. The problem is that your ovaries literally dry up and you are left to deal with the rest of your life after the age of 50, or if you've had a hysterectomy, without ovarian hormones. And that is a miserable existence. And I can tell you, I'm 55, and my existence would not be fun. It would not be cool if I had to go even 1 day without my hormones. And trust me, I've forgotten them before. And my fiance is like, have you taken your hormones? So mood changes are a very big part of that. And to keep everything balanced, when you don't have ovaries, it is so important that you have ovarian hormones. So what happens is we are in ovarian failure, and everything that follows these 25 symptoms that we're talking about this month, everything that follows is because we are literally without female ovarian hormones. And I can tell you that when we check women that come in my clinic every single day that are brand new to us or brand new to this whole hormone world, their levels will be like non-existent. And when I say that, the assays will actually say non-detectable. I mean, it's like, remember the little less than sign when you were in math class when we were kids? Literally, it'll be like less than 5, estradiol less than 5, progesterone less than 5. I mean, it's just, it's nuts. So if you had your thyroid removed and your thyroid labs came back less than 0, There is nobody in the world that would tell you, no doctor in the world would tell you, you can't have thyroid hormone because hormones cause cancer, right? It is clown world. So I just always have to kind of start with my rant that if this is all you ever hear, or maybe I'm, not your tribe, but if this is all you ever hear, please understand that menopause is just a year without periods, means absolutely nothing. What we are dealing with is hormone depletion syndrome and ovarian failure. So we have to change the terminology for people to finally start getting help. So, one of the aspects of hormone depletion syndrome and ovarian failure, I know it sounds horrible, and it is. I mean, literally, when you think of heart failure, like people are like, oh my gosh, that sounds so bad. And it might just mean that your heart pump is slightly deficient in how it should be pumping. But we call that heart failure, and it sounds really scary, right? And yes, it is very scary. We should take the same concern when we're talking about ovarian failure, because literally we are born with all the eggs we're ever going to have in our little ovaries. And then if we use them up having babies, then by the time we're 50, they are used up. They're gone. Your ovaries have no purpose. They retire and they literally shrivel up. So all of the symptoms that we have, all of the 25 Advent countdown that we're using, like the 25 days, this one is just one of the many. And not everybody has hot flashes or night sweats. If you've had hot flashes or night sweats, please comment. Let me know what you do for them. There are lots of things. Of course, I'm always going to say bioidentical hormones is number one, because it's not just about the hot flashes. It is I call it canary in the coal mine. If you're having hot flashes, that is an indicator that you are in ovarian failure. And we should listen to that. That should be huge. Women should be able to express that. She said, yes, I hate it. So if you're experiencing that, people think that it is just a nuisance, right? Hot flash is just a nuisance. If you've ever had one, it is a heat that boils up in you from the inside. And I am on hormones, but I've had some dysregulation and sometimes the balance gets thrown off and I will still have some hot flashes. And I will tell you that it is a angry heat. There's nothing like it. And if you've never had a hot flash before, it comes from the inside. It starts like underneath everywhere and it just sort of bubbles out. And you feel almost like you're on fire. Doctor says they can't do anything. That is so not true. They can't do anything because they don't understand how to treat ovarian failure. There is nothing taught in med school, I will tell you, about treating ovarian failure. They teach you about menopause, like maybe 5 minutes in med school, because I'm a medical doctor. I was in med school like everybody else. I still see patients. And they talk about what menopause is, but all they talk about is a year without periods. They don't talk about ovarian failure. They don't even use that term. I swear, I think I just coined the term hormone depletion syndrome. Like we have a hyperbaric chamber in our office. And I was in there like, I don't know, 5-6 months ago. And I'm like, what can I call this? Because this really isn't about a year without periods, because that's a definition of menopause. This is about ovarian failure. And if you're in perimenopause, that is about ovarian dysregulation. And that's a big deal too. If your thyroid was going all over the place, wouldn't they manage that or help you manage that? So when you are in complete ovarian failure, this is a big deal. It's a really big deal. So when we start thinking about, like I say, the canary in the coal mine, what's really going on underneath is your heart is starting to clog up. Your arteries are starting to clog up. Your brain is starting to get clogged up and dried up. I mean, everything is literally drying up because estrogen increases blood flow to everything. And your bones are literally drying up. And so I have people reach out to me all the time and say, I can't take hormones. I'm like, okay, first of all, what kind of hormones, right? If you didn't have a thyroid, would they tell you you can't take thyroid? or you can't take insulin. So you have to be specific on what hormone. And if you're going to say estrogen specifically, if you're going to make estrogen the devil, you have to say which estrogen. And it's really interesting because we have test kits available now. We usually just do the basic hormones, but we have a dried urine test. You might have heard of the Dutch test before, and it tests almost 20 different metabolites of estrogen. And so if your hormone therapy is done correctly by someone who understands that, it's a game changer. Elaine says, Summers Christian Northrop found that GON did HRT bioidentical. Yes. So that's all I do is bioidentical hormones, because the difference between a synthetic hormone and a bioidentical hormone is, I like to use the analogy between a strawberry and a strawberry candy. Your body knows what to do with the strawberry. Your body does not know what to do with the strawberry candy. And if you eat enough strawberry candies, you will get diabetes and die, right? So a natural organic chemical can't be patented. And so the powers that be who have the most money to gain want you on synthetic stuff, but they would rather have you because they can make more money on sleeping pills and depression pills and anxiety pills. And there are so many different medications for the 25 symptoms that we're talking about this month that they can give you. And it is just a hamster wheel. And when a doctor says there's nothing they can do, that is absolutely ridiculous. So there are some things you can do. And even if you haven't watched me enough, and hopefully I can convert you at some point, this is where we start. There are some things that you can do right now. And I'm going to talk about those tonight. So I'm going to kind of go down the little list here, and I'm going to stop preaching the gospel about ovarian failure. And there are some things that you can do. So this is really cool because I have to do my CMEs every year, but I like to go to the functional medicine conferences because it's more comprehensive about underlying causes, and they don't push big pharma and all that. So anyway, there are things even yet, I always reserve the right to be wrong. And there are things even yet that I am still learning. And I always love to learn new things, right? I'm always very open-minded. So I had always heard that soy was bad, right? And that soy was estrogen basically, and that soy could kill you. And, soy got demonized, which is interesting to me because people sometimes call me a conspiracy theorist because I'm always like, what's the agenda behind that? Because I'm not sure that that's true. So I'll go do research about it. So at this conference, this doctor was standing up there in front of, oh my gosh, there's like 5,000 people at these conferences that are like worldwide, all these really cool doctors who love functional medicine and actually get outside the box to actually treat people and help people. So he's talking about soy and how it can relieve hot flashes. And I was like, I always thought soy was bad. I always thought soy was like something you don't want to do because it can cause cancer, right? And he broke down all the nerdy science. And I'm like, okay, check that box for something Tammy didn't know and something that I'm going to really carry over. So I know soy is probably not on the top of the list of things that you want to eat. And it's been demonized, so we've sort of pulled away from it. But I don't even really know because I'm on hormones, so I don't really worry about getting soy. But soy has something in it called a phytoestrogen, which is a plant cousin to estrogen, right? And people are like, well, can I just do that? And then I don't have to take hormones. Well, also sweet potatoes and yams have phytoestrogens in them too. But I can tell you that there are not enough sweet potatoes and yams that I could eat that it could possibly take care of my ovarian failure. So, it can help, but it's not going to help with all the other issues that you're having related to ovarian failure. So, but it can help symptomatic with things like hot flashes and night sweats. So edamame, it's so funny. The first time I ate edamame, I didn't know, and the person I was with, like, was totally laughing because I didn't know how to eat it, and so I'm, like, biting on it, and I'm, like I've, like, choked on it because I didn't know you're supposed to just get the little seeds out. But anyway, I love it, like, when you go to P.F. Chang's or something like that, I love edamame, it's, like, delicious. So I don't know that I would, like, eat that, like, every single day, but, and then there are other ways you can prepare soybeans, and, it's not a thing I normally do, but it just blew me away that he really kind of helped me see things in a new light, that soy is not bad. So if you are suffering with hot flushes, phytoestrogens are safe. Now, there are another kind of molecule or a chemical that is not safe, and these are called xenoestrogens. XE xeno, not Z, but X, xeno, XENO estrogens. And what they are basically poisons to your estrogen system. And they act like synthetic estrogens, which are bad. And these xenoestrogens can also stimulate breast tissue and cause cancer. And these are the things that are mostly in pesticides or phthalates or any of the chemicals that are basically banned in other countries. So we have so many chemicals in our food. And, sometimes I get a little scared because I'm like, who's watching over my shoulder for saying these things, right? But it's the truth. And I don't expect you to believe me or take my word for it. Do your own research. But it is very scary what these chemicals are. And then there are things called endocrine disruptors. And these are chemicals that are basically acting like other hormones in your body, but block the receptors for them. And so one of the biggest ones is plastic water bottles. And what happens is when the plastic gets heated, it breaks off a chemical called PCBs. And those are what can change the hormone balance, basically. So it's just creepy what we're up against. And people ask me sometimes, well, why did some people, like our grandmothers, not have so much trouble with ovarian failure? Estradiol fat. Okay, I'll get right to that. Why did they not have trouble? And I'm like, because they didn't have all the chemicals disrupting our system that we have now. I mean, it's crazy. I look back at like old videos with 24 low. Okay, I got you. I'm going to come right back. But like from like the 40s and 50s, nobody was overweight or had these cortisol bellies like we do. So it's just it's crazy. So estradiol 24, that is pretty low. I like an estradiol level of about 60 to 80. And it's crazy because when doctors check your levels, if you can get someone to check your level, they'll tell you like if it's less than 5, that's normal, which is like 0, because they don't expect you to have any when you don't have ovaries anymore, right? So that's just nuts. But I like about 60 to 80. Some women feel better at about 100 to 150. And it's all about balance because estrogen and progesterone balance each other out. And so never, 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 I can't say enough nevers, let a doctor put you on estrogen without progesterone because you will gain a ton of weight and you will feel like you're in PMS all the time because you will be what we call estrogen dominant because estrogen and progesterone balance each other out. So the patch is fine. I do use patches in my clinical practice and it's a good way. It's a topical route, so you're not depending on your GI system, and your liver is part of your GI system to process that hormone, and your liver processes most of your estrogen. So I do use patches. I love creams because they are completely safe, and our program, Hormone Bliss, and you go to hormonebliss.com and learn more about it. But our program actually uses almost all exclusively topical creams because of the way they get absorbed into the bloodstream. And we love uh, being able to test with saliva testing because we can see what's actually going on in the tissues too. So I do things a little bit more sophisticated in my practice because I'm a nerd and I like to microdose stuff. But the creams you can get a lot of relief from. And so that's mostly because we have it on a mass scale. What the patch gives you palpitations. So are you taking progesterone with the patch? That would be my question. But estrogen progesterone imbalance and ovarian failure can lead to palpitations. And palpitations are just when your heart speeds. So something is dysregulated with somewhere in the metabolism. Something's going on. So, what do I think about testosterone pellets? We do some testosterone pellets in our practice. I'll come back to that once we do saliva and get results. What happens next? Once you get your results, then you'll get on the phone with one of our hormone experts, and they will talk about your results and get you your results, and then talk about a plan. And if a plan works for you, then we'll dose your hormones and get you on BHRT, which is bioidentical hormone therapy, and get you feeling better, because that's what this is all about. It's kind of funny. Let's see, I'm reading the comments as we go. It's kind of funny because we've had a lot of people who ordered the test kits. I don't know, it's Christmas time, they're busy. Maybe they're having so much. I want to come back to that. Crystal, if you come back to that question in just a minute, because I know you're going to get knocked out of the feed here. So I want to respond to that. But it's funny because we have so many people who've ordered the test kits, which is a lab test that they send to your house, and you just spit in the tube and you send it right back in. But people will order it and they won't send it in. So we had somebody literally dialing people all day long trying to say, what happened? And I think sometimes women think it doesn't matter because I've been gaslighted so much and I've been just rejected. We feel rejected because we are begging for help and nobody is helping us. And doctors don't even understand what ovarian failure is. And they'll laugh at you if you say ovarian failure. What are you talking about? Menopause? Are you talking about menopause? I mean, it's clown world. But so they'll get the kits and they'll just kind of sit on them. And so, when our girl was calling today, people were like, oh, I forgot. Or it's like, this is your life. This is like time to get help. And, the main way we know, and I can guarantee you, if you're having any of the symptoms I'm talking about, this 25 days, you have hormone issues. So it's like, all we want to do is just confirm that before we start talking about therapy. But get on therapy like as soon as possible, because every day I tell my patients this in my practice all the time. Every day you don't feel good is a day you can't get back. So stop it. Don't suffer. You don't have to. And there are lots of people out there like me who do this, but Hormone Bliss was just sort of my passion project because I wanted to be able to get it available for everybody. And my goal, my mission is, before I leave this world, I'm 55, so I don't know how many years I got to do this, so you guys could help me with this, is to have 50% of women on BHRT. And right now, 5%. So I've got some work to do, and you guys have got some work to do to help me. And it's crazy because before that stupid study in 2002 that lied to everybody and misrepresented everything, 60% of women, so I had 10% over my 50% in 2001. And then a year after that, when they told everybody they were going to get cancer with hormones, it went down to half, 30%. And now fast forward in 2024, 5% of women after menopause in ovarian failure are on some form of HRT. I don't even know what the percentage breakdown is of bioidentical hormones, but it's just nuts. So we have to change that narrative for sure. Okay, Crystal says, how often do you test after the patch is applied? Lab test, if you're going to do blood testing, I usually test my patients about every 3 months, unless I'm trying to regulate things. And it kind of depends on the dosage. And you really have to talk to your patient about how they're feeling, because you don't treat numbers, you treat how they're feeling, which is why a lot of what I call commercial doctors, they don't take the time to talk to patients and really understand what's going on. And so they can't take the time. I mean, because insurance is dictating that they pretty much have to see patients all day long. There's something in billing called RVUs, where a doctor pretty much only gets paid based on the volume that they produce. And so when you have someone who is stuck in those constraints, all they have time is to write a prescription for you. So here's your antidepressant, here's your sleeping pill, and that's pretty much all you get. So really you have to slow down and work with somebody who understands. And like I say, the patch, I use that. I do use progesterone. I find that the patches kind of I have never tried the patch, I will tell you, because I just can't imagine having that sticky thing on me all the time. I mean, I even have a prescription filled in my cabinet. I've probably had it 6 months because I like to experience things that I, do with my patients. And so I've never put it on. And I'm almost afraid because I'm so balanced with everything. Well, I think I am. My family might tell you differently, but I feel like I'm so balanced now. I'm scared to try anything different. So when you get the right stuff, you don't want to mess it up, right? And so, yeah, so it just kind of depends, but you can test as often as you want. But usually, if you're getting kind of close to stuff, I'll let people self-regulate their stuff. So their creams, our coaches all the time will say, use a little bit more, a little bit less, and just kind of play with that. Or, um, thank you so much. Small dosage 0.375, and I'm sleeping after 4 years. Yeah, it's so sad. I have a woman, I was talking about her the other night. She went through ovarian failure at 52, and she was a new patient to me she was 72. So for 20 years, she had not slept for 20 years, and she'd had hot flashes every single day of her life for 20 years. And she was just in tears. She was like, I've begged, I've begged, I've begged. And it is disgusting that we have to beg. Absolutely disgusting that we have to beg. So anyway, I'm going to stop my rant. Oh, and somebody did ask about pellets. So I'm going to talk about pellets, and then I'll go back to my little script here because you guys have slowed down on your questions a little bit. Crystal, so true. Yes. Okay, so pellets. I don't use many pellets in my practice. I do have some males in my practice, but they're usually the husbands of my female patients because you get their women's testosterone levels up. They're like, okay, you got to fix him. And so a lot of the guys do the pellets. So it's super convenient because just like 3 times a year, you go get a little incision on your backside and they just pop a little, they look like little half the size of a Tic Tac. And you pop those in there and then it slow releases. So they are wonderful. The problem is a male, I think of that like a light switch, super easy, one hormone, testosterone. Women, I think of us not like a light switch, but the cockpit of an airplane because our hormones are so complicated. And the reason for that is because we have to have babies, we have menstrual cycles, and there's just, it's so complex. So if you put a testosterone pellet in a female, you can give her too much testosterone and make her crazy. In fact, I just had a patient not too long ago that came in begging, new patient, got testosterone pellets somewhere else, begged me to take them out. And so I had to take them out just like I put them in, but it's hard because then you got to go digging it out and it's partially dissolved and everything. And so she was miserable. So you can mess it up and you can get too much. And if the doctor doesn't know what they're doing and they're just doing it because everyone else is doing it and they think they're just making money off of it and they don't know what they're doing, they can get your testosterone levels in the 400 to 600 range, and that's the range of a male, and we are not designed to have testosterone levels that high. So all that said, I do have some patients that I do testosterone pellets in females, but I always make sure that I have an understanding of how their body is metabolizing their hormones before I ever even talk about doing pellets because they last for 3 months. You put those in there and you're kind of stuck with it. My moderator says, encourage you guys to share. So please share these videos. And if you do that little tap thing with the hearts and show some love, it really gets the algorithm out so that more people can hear the message. And I know that's really important because remember, my mission is like to have 50% of women on BHRT after ovarian failure. So there goes my heart. I love you guys. I saw something about bloating and I missed that because I was all loving on the heart. So if you'll comment that again, I'll see that back through the feed. And having a lot of discomfort. Something about bloating. I take the birth control pill. I just ordered you get yay, Tacoma. I love that. Birth control pill. You'll have to elaborate on that a little bit more. So while we're talking about the birth control pill, this is kind of crazy. everybody thinks that hormones cause cancer, right? Okay, well, let's say what hormone? Let's say estrogen. Everybody thinks estrogen causes cancer. I hear it all the time. So, if hormones caused cancer, then why are girls as young as 9 years old written for birth control? Is birth control not estrogen? Is it not hormones? Is not female hormones? So it's like, I'm telling you, it's clown world. As soon as you start to ask questions, it all falls apart. So, yeah, sometimes doctors will use birth control after with ovarian failure because they don't know what else to do. That is such mismanagement. So, find somebody that can help you because that is synthetic hormones and it is dangerous. Synthetic is very different than bioidentical. So when I preach bioidentical hormones, I am not only 100% confident that they are safe, but that they are protective and life-saving. So I'll go head to head with anybody who wants to argue that with me. So just remember that we are talking about a whole different ballgame. We're not talking about birth control. We're not talking about synthetic hormones. We're talking about bioidentical hormones, and they do come in several different forms. So we won't get into that. I'm taking the lupin birth control pill. I'm not sure if I'm having bad side effects. So I'm not sure if you're not sure if you're having bad side effects. That sounds like you're having bad side effects. It sounds like you're not sure if that's what you're experiencing is from that. So if you're having bad things happening, I can pretty much guarantee you that it is from that. And it's nuts because I have people all the time. I have a lady who came to me one time and she had a terrible rash on her face and she'd had it for 3 years. She said, if you get rid of that rash, I will praise you forever, And so we go through all this stuff and we're looking at autoimmune stuff. And so the first thing that I want to go blame is Big Pharma somehow. So anyway, it turns out it was her blood pressure pill that was causing the rash, and she was all happy and everything was great. What happens after results and you have a plan since we're in the office with you? Well, it's telehealth basically. So once you get the results, then that goes to the lab, and then the lab gives us the report. And then one of our coaches gets on the call with you, and I review all of the protocols that go out for the dosing of the hormones. So they talk to you about a plan for the hormones. I'm very passionate about education, and I tell my patients all the time, I can fix you a fried fish meal and you eat one meal, or I can teach you to fish and you will eat for the rest of your life. So that is so important. I know that's kind of an old cliche kind of parable story, but it's so true. So part of what we do is we make sure that you understand. And I have patients who have been my patients for 15 years who will still go out in the community and someone will say, oh my gosh, you're on hormones. And they'll be like, I'm on hormones. I feel so great. You should be too. And they'll say, those cause cancer. And it's just like, bam. It's like you were like, the spell was broken. And all of a sudden they're back saying, am I going to get cancer from these? I'm like, oh, I love you so much, but you're hurting my heart right now. So our coaches pretty much are there to teach you. And it's crazy because the word doctor in Latin actually means docere, means to teach. So that is what doctors should be doing, is to teach you and help you find your way and help you do things that are natural and healing and eating right. And so most people are like, don't tell me about diets, don't tell me about exercise, I just want to feel better. Well, that is part of it, but sometimes you do have to feel better before you can start getting into diet and exercise, right? So I totally get that. And I tell my patients when they come in and they're just exhausted and they can't do anything, I'm like, we're not going to talk about diet and exercise. We're going to talk about you feeling better, because I call it lead butt. So it literally feels like you have lead in your butt and like you can't, like you're walking through mud. There's the brain fog and everything. And so I'm like, okay, let's get you feeling better. And then we'll talk about going to the gym, and then we'll talk about building muscle, and we'll do all of those things. But first of all, just let's get your life back. Let's get you where you're even interested to do something, right? So after telehealth appointment, how do we start with BHRT? So after that, the next step is we look at everything and get a plan. And we have, where's creams. Yes. So we do, yes, personalized creams. And so we dose according to all the protocols. And the only way that I was able to do this on a mass scale was to have coaches who could use my protocol. So, and anytime there's a question, they come back to me or the team. And so we help you get it right. And my promise is always to get it right. And if you are patient with us and we'll go the process, it's what we call a balancing act. And I've written a book called Balancing Acts on Amazon if you want to find it. If you want to reach out to me and message me, I'll send you a free copy of the ebook. But it is a balancing act, and every woman is different. And so I'd love to say we can just send you this one size fits all cream, but it's not that way. So we want to regulate everything. And testosterone is one of the most important things that a woman can get. A woman actually makes more testosterone than estrogen. Yes, I said that. I actually said that. A woman does make more testosterone than estrogen. Men have more testosterone because I know that's where you're going. You're like, what? I've never heard that before. But apples to apples, women actually make more testosterone. So even if you're scared of any other hormone, you can still have testosterone and feel better and have more energy and libido and build muscle and all the things. So it's really important that you understand what your body needs. And that's what the testing does too. So yeah, so the creams come out to you pretty quick and then we start regulating and you can call us anytime. Well, 9 to 5. I've been concierge in my practice and I'm ready to start slowing down on that because I still get calls at night and stuff. So but yeah, so our coaches are available 9 to 5. Maybe someday we'll open that up and we'll have them available all the time. But so yeah, so we get it where it's right for you, and we don't stop until we get it right. So, and that's, I've been doing this for almost 25 years now, and we added up one day, it was like over 30,000 patients. That's not even talking about like all the educational programs and stuff I put out there. That's just patients in front of me. So all of the protocols that I built over the years of trial and error, probably unfortunately for some of my patients, are now your benefit because that's what we do. So yeah, absolutely. So that's the plan. I am also a huge proponent of supplements, and my son is always asking me, Mom, why do you take so many supplements, and and I give him so many too. He's like, Mom, really, so many? And it is crazy because the girls in my office, well, most of them are like kids. They're like in their 20s and they're getting sick all the time. And I'm like, I take all these supplements for my immune system and for my hormone balance, and they're getting sick and I'm not. So I'm knock on wood, but so we're a big proponent of that. So, okay, I'm going to skip out just a minute and I'm going to talk a little bit because I promised. I'm checking my time here. Let's see. What time is it? I got too many things set up here. Oh, 7:38. Okay. So I usually go 30 minutes. I've been going an hour lately. So if you guys are having fun, tap me some hearts on the screen there. You just keep tapping, and that gives me energy to keep going. So I'll keep talking. And I do have my tea because when I talk for a whole hour, I start getting a little hoarse, and I kind of was where I would like go grab my tea right after. So I actually have my tea. So halfway I can have my tea break. So what kind of vitamins? So I'm going to talk about those a little bit, but I'm going to kind of tailor these to the kind of stuff I was going to talk about tonight, which is hot flashes and night sweats. So we talked a little bit about phytoestrogens and soy. So some things that can really help with hormone balance is black cohosh. So you've probably heard of that. And basically that is just another form of a phytoestrogen, kind of like soy. And evening primrose oil is really good for hot flushes as well. And part of that is because that oil base is actually what helps your adrenals make more of estrogen metabolites. So I say ovarian failure, but your adrenals still do make some of your ovarian hormones. So I don't want to leave you with the idea that you don't have any because you would die without any, right? And the adrenals make testosterone make DHEA, so that metabolizes into testosterone. So you do have a little bit of your ovarian hormones, but adrenals that are wiped out with adrenal fatigue, it's really hard to keep up with, making your ovarian hormones when your adrenals are trying to make adrenaline and trying to make things to regulate your blood pressure and your blood sugar and everything. So it's tricky there to try to have enough of your ovarian hormones. So those oils, actually, this is crazy. Okay. I'm going back up just a little bit. And what are hormones made of? They're made out of oil. So things like vitamin E, fish oil, evening primrose oil, those are all substrate-based oils. So why do you need oil? This is crazy. Your body makes your female hormones in your liver from a hormone called cholesterol. I know that's nuts. Like, wait, isn't cholesterol a fatty globule ready to cause a heart attack and kill me? And am I not supposed to take medicine to like wipe it all out? No, that's a lie. And don't take my word for it. Go look it up. That is a total lie. It was one of the biggest lies that was ever told to our human population, to the fact that there are over 100 million prescriptions for medicine that wipes out your cholesterol, because doctors will tell you that you'll have a heart attack or a stroke if you don't take a statin. It is nuts. You need your cholesterol. Now, that said, there are other parameters in your lipid panel that can be problematic. So I'm not saying that, but a statin is one of the worst things that you can do. And there are over 100 million prescriptions written a year for statins. And did you know that there are only 300 million people in the US? That's like a third. Well, 333 million, but that's like a third. And there are absolutely no studies in heart protection for cholesterol medications in women. I mean, there's a little bit in men, so you could argue that a little bit, but it is just clown world. So please have an informed conversation with your doctor if they try to stick you on a statin or a cholesterol blocker. So cholesterol, actually, that word sterol means steroid, and estrogen and progesterone and testosterone are steroid hormones. And so if you don't have cholesterol, you cannot make estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, DHEA, all those other hormones. So if your adrenals make DHEA from that oil base, you can make some hormones. So the oils, the fish oil, the vitamin E, the evening primrose oil, those kinds of oils can really help mitigate hot flushes and night sweats and things like that, because you're giving your body substrate to make hormones. So that's pretty cool. I am a big proponent, and I will do a whole video some night on supplements, but when I think about like my immune system and my hormone balance and what I can do to support my body the most, I really do like a good multivitamin. And we have stuff on our site too. And if you do the Bliss program, we make all the recommendations. We can even do testing. We can do vitamin D testing, all the things. And actually, vitamin D is a hormone too, which regulates the carrier proteins that help your hormones get into the cells. So that's really important. So my vitamin D, methylated vitamins, and that's, a whole nother thing too, the way your liver processes things. And so if you ever get bored and you want to look up something called methylation and genetics, that's just fascinating stuff, the way your liver processes toxins and hormones and things. So the difference, and I kind of did the teaser when I introduced the talk with a description, between hot flushes and night sweats, which is why I separated these out, is that hot flashes are a temperature dysregulation that the body is telling, because of the lack of estrogen, the body is telling the hypothalamus that it is getting too overheated, and then it has to cool itself down. It's like a fever, a little baby gets a fever and then they start sweating, and that's how they cool themselves down. It is the same thing with a hot flash. A hot flash is a fever, but it is an angry fever. And if you've ever had one, you can comment in there and tell me about your angry fevers. In fact, maybe that's what we should call them. And it's just such an irritability. It's like the nerves tingle. It's like everything inside you. It's like that movie Aliens, where it's like the aliens trying to get out. So people think, like I say, it's just a nuisance, but it can be crippling. And I've had women who've come to me who have one at an hour. And can you imagine being at your desk trying to get your work done in the daytime? And every hour you have this like crippling, almost like seizure activity that completely shuts you down. Forget trying to wear makeup because it's just dripping off of you and your hair is like not holding any curl because it's wet all day. So it can be the extreme of completely miserable to tolerable. And the problem is that we as women, we're so used to being gaslighted that we minimize what we're going through. And so we finally get the courage up to go sit in front of a doctor. And then we're like, the doctor's like, well, what's going on? And like, the only thing you know to say is, well, I'm having hot flashes. And they're like, oh, okay. Well, I guess you can have some hormones. And then you're like, well, they're not that bad. But you say you kind of diminish back because that kind of ego gets involved and they're like, you're okay. You don't need anything. Tough it up, buttercup. I mean, it's just like, and so then you sort of pull back, but you don't know that this is life or death. This is your bones crumbling. This is your heart crumbling. This is everything drying up. This is ovarian failure syndrome. And this is a big deal. And so you don't even have time to go through your list of, besides hot flashes and night sweats, or maybe you're not even having those. Now, what about your thyroid going offline? Now, what about you're not sleeping? Now, what about you're gaining weight? Now, what about you're having headaches? What about you have frozen shoulder? What about fill in the blank, right? All the 25 things we're doing this month. So don't take no for an answer, but don't let someone manage your hormones that they don't know what they're doing. So that's not a good thing, right? Okay. So we were talking about supplements. So I will also say that there's a supplement called melatonin, which is your main sleep hormone, but progesterone is also a sleep hormone. So you can take melatonin that will help you sleep better, but melatonin can actually regulate night sweats too. And part of it is if you are sleeping better, you're going to be more comfortable and you're not going to be so much, waking up or being stimulated by stuff in the room. But if you're sleeping better, you're less likely to get stimulated by an internal hypothalamus dysregulation. But progesterone is so important for sleep. And if you're sleeping more solid, again, you're less likely to do that. But estrogen is the main temperature regulator. And estrogen and progesterone are the yin to the yang of each other. So, absolutely don't let anybody just put you on estrogen. And there's this myth that if you don't have a uterus, that you don't need progesterone. And that is ridiculous. That's like saying you have shoes, you don't need socks, because the ovaries make a whole lot more hormones than just estrogen. So, okay. And then we also have to mention a little bit about blood sugar and a hormone called insulin, because insulin and thyroid and estrogen all kind of do their little dance in the system. It's all just a big orchestra. And so if your blood sugar drops at night because you have insulin resistance, that can trigger night sweats too. So night sweats are actually a little more complicated than hot flashes, and it's a little bit different mechanism. Rhonda said, that's what my doc told me. That's scary. Yeah, I know. I know. It's all scary. I mean, we should be scared because this is sad. This is reality. 100% of women will suffer ovarian failure if they live past their 50s. And we have to start changing the narrative because there is something that you can do about it. It's kind of like if everyone's thyroid dried up at 50, we would not be like, you can't have any thyroid hormone. We would not expect people to live like that. And if men, God bless y'all, bless your hearts, had to live without testosterone, if you had a guy and you checked his testosterone level at 50, like a magic wand was waved at the age of 50, and their levels came back less than, with a little less than sign 5, like it would be a totally different world because no man would want to live like that. And I can't believe that women have to live like that too. So, what time is it? Can somebody put the time in? Because I can't see the time back there. And I don't want to go over because I have so much yet to do tonight, but I don't want to cut too short. 7:50. Okay. I got 10 minutes to to preach and to tell you I love you. And so if you're having any trouble finding someone to listen to you, or even if you're on hormones and they're not getting it right, we would love to help you. And Hallie says, can't believe isn't covered by insurance. You have to remember what insurance is. And you have to remember that insurance they have an agenda. And the agenda is that there are certain people that make money, and there are certain people that don't make money, and there are certain people that lose money. And you, as the patient, are the one that loses. I was watching a video the other day, a TikTok video of all things, and it was this guy, it was a doctor, and he's doing this spoof where, plays this role, he plays this role. And so he's this doctor talking to himself in this short as an insurance company. And he's like, we're doing surgery. And he's like, but we're only going to pay for 10 minutes of anesthesia. And he's like, but the surgery takes an hour. And the guy's like, but yeah, but we're only paying for 10 minutes of the anesthesia. The patient can pay for the rest. I mean, it's hilarious. They just go on and on. It's not funny. It's funny, not funny. But I mean, that's the way it goes. So we blindly think that our insurance companies are the savior and that we have to have it, right? And then when something really happens, I cannot tell you the patients that I've had that we think we have it for catastrophic, if something really big happens, car accident, cancer, something like that have actually lost their homes because insurance didn't pay. So some people pay almost $2,000 a month for a family for insurance. And just because you don't know how much you pay because your employer pays part of it, which is coming out of your check, doesn't mean that you're not paying that. So that might be something you want to look into. But I'll get on a whole rant about insurance because it is one of the biggest lies. And then people think the doctors are ones that make all the money. No, it's insurance. And they do this thing where they play this game. My nurse is sometimes on the phone with insurance for an hour or two trying to get just a freaking MRI approved. I mean, it's just such a game. It's like if a doctor thinks that's an important test to do for a patient, shouldn't that be enough? But no, I mean, there are offices that hire full staff to do things like that. We don't take insurance in our office because there's no way I could and serve my patients with the amount of time and care and trust that we have with each other in relationship. There's no way I could see 60 patients a day. I have an hour with my patients, so it's like there's no way insurance would ever compensate me for that. And there's no way that a patient could get relationship and served like that with an expert and insurance ever pay for that. I hope someday that changes, but I think that people have to really get out of the mindset that your insurance has your best interest because they do not. And it's kind of funny because I've had people say, but yeah, they pay for my meds. Okay, well, if you're not on a lot of meds, it's kind of like that thing. One time I was in the hospital when I had my son and I got one of those, those mugs that has the hospital name on it. And I said, yeah, I had a $30,000 mug and it came with a free hospital stay. So it was like, I don't know, it was like, I got a free mug, right? So I don't know, it probably wasn't 30K. I don't know what it was to have a baby, but I had pneumonia and I was in the ICU and everything. So yeah, I was about 30K. But so insurance, you have to really start thinking about yourself. And yeah, it is a necessary evil. And if you get kidney stone or something, it's kind of nice. But, I have so many people that I know, so many patients that have $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 deductibles and can't even get their lab work paid for. So if you want to have life-changing, life-saving hormone therapy, you really do have to kind of take that on yourself and get outside the box with that. And I hate that. And I wish I could do it free for everybody because when I'm with new patients, I want to give everything away for free. And I really have to step out of the room and let my staff come and have the conversation with, what our programs do, because I don't talk numbers ever, because I'll just like, I'll cave and I'll be like, I want to give it away free. But they like to get paid and they like to have lights on in our office. So that's the way that goes. But, my heart is to have this bliss program that we can do it on a national level in every state. And so wherever you are, whether you're in Arizona, Alaska, wherever you are, you can get bioidentical hormones and our team can help you. And so it's affordable, it's accessible, everything's done from home. You don't ever have to leave your house and everything's shipped right to your door. So I love it. Okay, so I know I got to wrap this up, but I do want to say that our test kits, the lab test kits that we send out, are usually $299. And I hate talking numbers, but I'll talk numbers because I know you guys want to know. But for our Christmas special, they're only $119. So it's like, I don't know, what is that, like a 40%? I mean, so it's crazy. And we run specials from time to time, but the Christmas special is really good. So I just encourage you to do this for yourself. Buy a kit for a sister or friend, anybody who's having problems with hormones. And I guarantee you, if you think it's your hormones, it is 100%. So, but yeah, get that test and talk with one of our coaches. And whether we're the right person for you or not, it could provide you some information and at least confirm that you're not crazy and that what's going on is really a product of ovarian failure, because that's what it is. Menopause, again, is just a term that means a year without a period. But ovarian failure is serious, serious business. And it's time that we change the narrative. So tell your friends I'm here every night at 7 o'clock. Sometimes it seems like I love you guys. And I love to do this so much. And it's like, I'm so excited to do it. But sometimes I'm like, okay, here we go again tonight at 7 o'clock. But I am just so passionate about it. And until I at least get the word out to enough people that we've built to the level that you guys will continue to roll the ball for me, I'll be every night at 7 o'clock. So you guys come with your questions, write them down, inbox me if you have questions that you didn't get answered tonight. And I always try to reshare the replay, yeah, the live, and then reshare that as a replay. So you can go and watch those too. And I try to do a video every single day, so a little short or something, just to get the information out. So share the page and let people know. And I just love you guys and I hope you have a wonderful evening, and I'll see you tomorrow.